to Medellin, Colombia. So getting around the city of Medellin is actually pretty easy. I'm living in the El Poblado area, so within my area I can mainly just walk, and I'll walk, maybe 10-15 minutes to get wherever I want to go, sometimes less. If I do need to go to a different neighborhood or to a different area of town, or maybe it's rainy or late at night, I can use either hail down a yellow taxi, which are plentiful and everywhere in the city, or I'll even use a sharing app like Uber or Didi or Cabify. So there's actually 3 options in the city that you can use to get around. Different times of day, different ones have different lengths of time, so we kind of switch between them. But like I said, there is some traffic between neighborhoods, and so it can take quite a bit of time to get from, say, like El Poblado to Comuna 13, which we did a tour there, or even to the city center. So just make sure you're planning plenty of time to get from place to place. I would say the general vibe of Medellin is pretty laid back. So it is a city, so it has like city energy, and even more in the city center, you'll find more of that like city energy than El Poblado, which is a bit more laid back than maybe some of the other areas. Our area is very green, it's very walkable, it's very like laid back. It's geared a little bit more towards tourists, so it's a nice relaxing area versus the city center, which has a lot of locals, a lot of businesses, a lot of squares that people just kind of go and hang out during the day, lots of street food vendors and things like that. So depending what kind of vibe you're looking for, you can actually kind of find it in different areas. But I would say in general, it's still a pretty chill, relaxed, larger type city. I mentioned that the area that I'm living in is El Poblado, which is one of the more nicer areas. So you're not going to find the cheapest, most inexpensive prices, but you're going to find things that maybe as a Westerner or maybe a traveler you're a bit more used to. So like a cup of coffee is still going to cost around 5,000 to 7,000 pesos, which is, $1 to $2. It's still not that bad. Most meals we can eat under $10, so they're around 25,000 to 40,000 pesos on average. You can eat cheaper, especially if there's like a street vendor or something. Certain meals, like breakfast, is usually a little bit less. But for lunch and dinner, that's kind of like the prices that we've been seeing. Alcohol's pretty inexpensive when it comes to like beer, but if you want to get a cocktail, just be really careful. Those can sometimes be as much as your meal. So it just depends on your comfort level of spending and what you like to consume. But those are kind of like the general prices that we've seen as far as like food goes. I would say as far as shopping, unless you are purchasing from a local street vendor or something, the prices here are pretty similar. Like if you go to the mall or something, it's pretty similar to what you would find at like US mall prices. So that's not really any less expensive. So again, just like anywhere you travel in the world, the areas that you choose to stay in kind of determines the prices that you spend. But I would still say on average, it is less cost than what I'm used to spending in the US, and the value for what you get is still really great. There is no shortage of food here in Medellin. I feel like all I really do is eat most of the time. But outside of like the Latin American foods like empanadas and some really amazing soups, you can find a mix of really everything. There's Greek, there's Italian, there's Indian, there is Japanese and ramen. And so we've actually had a really good mix of different foods outside of the more like fried foods that you typically find. There's also a ton of cafes and coffee shops. As you might imagine, being in Colombia, I actually have my coffee right here. So they serve, some places serve breakfast and brunch all day, and there's just a really good mix of different foods, exotic fruits, all the things, beans, eggs, avocados. The avocados here are huge. So yeah, outside of that, as far as like vegan and vegetarian, you're gonna be able to find options. I don't know that there's like an abundance, but everywhere we've been, we haven't had any issues with our people in our group finding foods for their allergies. So gluten allergies, peanut allergies, and different foods that just want to be vegan or vegetarian, definitely can find. And then if you choose to, you know, not eat out every meal, which is kind of hard, it feels like, there are two really big like grocery stores that you can go to. There's Éxito and Corula, and they're both within walking distance of where we're staying here in El Poblado. So if you want to do some cooking of your own, you can totally do that as well. But yes, I would say overall, like, the food here and the eating is very important when it comes to Medellin.